So for today, a typical problem, I'm sorry I didn't catch the very beginning of the lesson here, but a typical problem gives you a slope and then asks you for what would be a slope parallel to it and what would be a slope perpendicular to it. Parallel is super easy. It's just always the same. So in this case, 7. Perpendicular, what? Opposite and upside down. I like that. All right, so here's an equation. Y equals 3x minus 7. Would you please tell me what slope we would need to be parallel or perpendicular to it? I will pause for a second while you give this one a try. All right, if the slope in this one is 3, which you said correctly, what would be parallel to it? A slope of? Nope. Parallel is the simple one. Can you do it? Yes. Parallel is the really simple one. It's even simpler than that. It's just the parallel to this means it stays the same. Perpendicular is the one where you flip it and oppositize it. I know that's totally not math, but you do the inverse, the inverse reciprocal. Inverse means negative. Reciprocal would mean 1/3. All right. So now, I'm going to give you another one. That I want the slope that would be parallel and then perp, as in perpendicular. Try to fill in those two boxes. I'll pause while I walk around and check you. Wasn't able to check everybody, but most of the people I checked had it. There's still a few people that are confused on parallel, but it's so easy. It's just the same slope, 2/3. And perpendicular? 3/2 is close. Negative, because it has to be opposite of it. All right. So then, let me give you two equations, and you tell me perpendicular or parallel. Y equals 2/3 x plus 7, and here's another one in blue. Y equals 2/3 x plus 9. Parallel or perpendicular? Parallel. And here's a way you can think of it. Parallel, these two are just like each other. Do you get that two lines that are parallel are just like each other? All right. They're side by side. Parallel lines are running side by side just like train tracks. All right. Perpendicular would have been if I put in a what? 3/2 is not right. Negative 3/2. There you go. It's got to be opposite and reciprocal. Okay. I know. Meant to, and I have to correct because that's the most common mistake. All right. So here's two lines. Parallel or perpendicular. Warning, trick questions are legal. Parallel or perpendicular? Neither, because to be parallel, it should have been 2/3. It's not 2/3. To be perpendicular, it should have been negative 3/2. It's not that either. So can two lines be not parallel and not perpendicular? Sure, most lines aren't parallel. That's really special if they happen to be exactly parallel. It's also really unusual to be exactly perpendicular. But two lines very easily, just slap up a couple lines, they'll usually cross and they won't be parallel or perpendicular. So most lines are neither. All right, but in the real world, when we build things, we use a lot of parallel lines? If you look in this room right now, I see so many parallel lines. Then they ran this thing. They could have ran it anywhere. See this little wire thing? When they ran that up the wall, they wanted to make it parallel to that, the edge of the wall right there, so that the side by side they would look right. You get how it would look kind of dumb if it was at an angle? Doorways. You have these doorways. Of course, going straight up, it's not at an angle. It's just if you come and stand in front of it, you'll see it's straight up. Okay, these two are parallel. How about the top of the door with the side of the door? Perpendicular. See how it's used a lot in the real world? It really is. Okay, so I'm going to hand out that worksheet. I'm going to pause for a second while I do. We'll do the first couple things. Here we go. Number 1. It says the slope of the line is 7. And then they want parallel. Oh my gosh. Could it be any easier? And yet some people still think we got to like flip it or make it negative. No! Parallel is just 7. Good. And then how about the slope of any perpendicular line? What would it be? Close. Not 1/7. Negative 1/7. That's for the perp. All right, that's that kind of problem. Super easy, right? Move down to number 6. I just don't want you to think the whole worksheet's like that. There's 4 parts. On number 6, it says the slope of line 1, slope 1 is 7. Slope 2 is 7. And it makes you actually write the word. Oh, this is terribly hard. What is the word? Those are the same, so what are they? They're parallel. Thank you. Oops, I just, hold on. Something wrong there. I was trying to just move this over. So on number 6, you would say parallel. All right. And on number 7, are those parallel or perpendicular or neither? Parallel. They aren't exactly the same, so they can't be parallel. It's a neither. Because if it was going to be perpendicular, it should have been negative 1/4, not 4. Should have been flipped. So number 7's a neither. All right, moving on to the back side, number 11. And yes, I'm assigning them all today because some people are already done with the entire front side. So I don't need to cut this one down. It's so easy. Number 11. Y equals 1/2 x plus 13. And the other equation is y equals negative 2x plus 2. What do they want to know? In the directions, they say determine if the given pair of lines is parallel, perpendicular, or neither. Parallel, perpendicular, neither. Stay with me. This is like the last one I'm doing. Number 11. Are these two parallel, perpendicular, or neither? Perpendicular is correct because they're negative and flipped. If you don't see the flipped part, you could put this over 1 and you might see the flipped part. That's perp. Just underneath it, you write perpendicular. That's it. All right, the trickiest problem is number 17 because if some of you are like, oh, this has been so easy, it's ridiculously easy, well then, challenge yourself with number 17. Because on number 17, the first slope is obvious, but the second slope, you're going to have to solve. You have to solve it. It's not that hard. You just have to solve an equation. You had a test on that. Granted, some of you didn't do so well on the test, but you had a test on that. So on number 17, you have to solve for y. All right, that's all I got for you for the worksheet for today.